So how does all this hot and dry weather affect farmers and their crops? For more on that part of the story, we've reached Isabelle Reid in Milton, Ontario. She's a multi-generational grain farmer. Hello, Isabelle. Thank you for making time for us today.
Hi, Arthi. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you are outside right now. The sky looks awfully hazy behind you. First, just start by setting the scene for me. What does it feel like? What does it smell like where you are?
Absolutely. Well, it sure is toasty out here, I'll tell you that much. The air quality is not great either, so it's making it a little bit harder to breathe properly outside. So that's its new set of challenges today as opposed to yesterday.
So, of course, that is sort of the situation right now, and you are one of the people who is forced to work outside. That is part of what you need to do in order to maintain what it is that you do on the farm. So I'm wondering if you can explain for our viewers how you protect yourself in these scorching temperatures and with this air quality as well.
Absolutely. So for us, it's about working smarter. So we'll start earlier in the morning, make sure everyone has lots of water, lots of sunscreen, take more breaks, and keep an eye on how the crops are responding. So the focus during a heat wave really is about the moisture. So as long as we can retain some moisture, healthy crops need both the nutrients and the water. But if that soil becomes too dry, the crop can't make the best of those nutrients.
So when we talk about these extreme temperatures that we're having right now, what impact are you seeing on your crops this year so far?
Well, every farm is different, so I can really only speak for our farm, but the biggest factor isn't just the heat. Again, it's the combination of the heat and the moisture. If we have adequate soil moisture and the heat only lasts a few days, most of the crops can tolerate it. But if the hot, dry conditions continue for an extended period, that's when we're going to start to see some stress and potential impacts on our yield. So hopefully we'll be seeing some rain shortly after this heat wave, because that's what's really going to help the crop. Now, having said that, I have spoken with some other friends and colleagues who are running berry farms, and they're running irrigation systems for almost 24 hours a day. And it's hard to have workers out in the fields picking all day in this heat. On the flip side, corn, pumpkins, and soybeans, like behind me here, are all very resilient, and they thrive in the heat so long as the soil remains with moisture.
Right. So as you mentioned there, corn, wheat, soybean, all part of the crops that you work on your farm particularly. I do want to ask about the conditions. I mean, you've been doing this. This is a multi-generational family business as well. So you've been doing this for a number of years. How does this year, this extreme temperature, compare to what you've seen in the past?
Absolutely. So we've seen different weather patterns throughout the years. This year started wet and late. So right now we're just focused on the next few weeks. I have seen some heat waves in the past that lasted over a week and resulted in extended power outages, barn fires, and of course you start to have a serious effect on livestock. But I haven't seen it to that extent in a while. So this is something that we're just actively watching, coming out into the field, seeing how the crops are responding to it.
What sort of conversations are you and the family having behind the scenes about what could happen and how to have a contingency plan as well, depending on how things pan out with the weather and the extreme forecast that appears to be in place?
Of course. Well, agriculture is always weather dependent. So farmers can plan and manage their fields the best we can, but weather is unfortunately one of those things that we can't control. We can certainly try to adapt to it, but if we are going to see any sort of impact on our yield, it's a little bit too soon to speak on that right now. If the heat wave were to continue, it would really be a combination of the prolonged heat and a lack of rainfall that concerns us. A few days of heat isn't necessarily enough to cause lasting damage, but if those were to continue over an extended period and the soil starts to dry out, that's when we're going to begin to start to see the crop become stressed.
And so have there been any discussions then about long-term patterns here as well? Because certainly this has been an evolving issue that farmers have had to be dealing with.
Yes, well, prolonged heat can reduce yields, but that depends on factors like, again, the rainfall, soil moisture, and the crop's growth stage. Heat during critical periods, such as corn pollination and soybean flowering, has the greatest potential to impact the yield. Farmers are watching these conditions closely because weather at those stages can have an impact on final harvest. And we certainly hope that we can start to see a more consistent temperature.
Isabelle, I want to thank you so much for taking us outside and into your world so we can see what it is that those in your industry are dealing with right now. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Arthi. Stay cool and stay safe.
That is Isabelle Reid. She's a multi-generational grain farmer, and we reached her today in Milton, Ontario.